Dr. Donna DaCosta is a physician specializing in diagnostic radiology, an author, and married mother of 2 sons with life-threatening food allergies. Donna has managed the daily stress of living with food allergies for over 20 years and is the founder of the Food Allergy and Sensitivity Circle, a website serving the food allergy and celiac communities. Most recently, Dr. DaCosta started Women Physician Innovators to help give female doctors the confidence to start online side businesses. Donna loves podcasts, pizza, and all shades of pink. Donna, welcome to the summit. And before we find out about your favorite concert, as a fellow pizzaphile, I have to ask, what's your favorite pizza?
Hi, Tim. How you doing? I love anything with a whole lot of stuff on it. So like pepperoni and a whole lot of veggies, mushrooms and onions and peppers and hot peppers.
Okay, so pile it on.
A little bit on the, yeah, I like to pile it on.
So that you can't really fold. You're like,
no, I'm not a folder. No,
you can't.
I'm not a folder.
There's too much. That's going to cause an avalanche, a toppings avalanche, which is never fun because it's not as satisfying to eat your pizza with a knife and fork. So
I'm not a knife and fork person, and I don't fold either.
See that? See, I understand you. I do. This is like,
and I know that.
I was so happy when you put that in your intro. I was like, my ADD was like, oh, this is so good. Here we go. We're going off on pizza. And everyone's gonna be like, what?
What are they talking about? The stress of pizza? What is that?
People. This is about pizza. You thought this was about stress. It's really about pizza.
Nah.
I had to quit pizza recently for a certain reason. And happily, I no longer have to quit it, but I had to set it aside for a few weeks. I was not a happy camper.
It was not a happy camper? You weren't a happy camper, huh?
Happy. So, hey, I'm gonna, before we jump in here so that I can reply to that, the person who asked what was Jam's meditation practice, it's called Turgar, Tergar, Turgar. So there you go. All right, close that loop. All right, now we've talked pizza. What was your favorite concert?
My favorite concert was the Michael Jackson Thriller concert.
Oh, stop it.
It was back in the day.
You saw that tour?
I did in Philadelphia. It was awesome. I loved it. Like 3 or 4 of my friends, they all don't leave. Yeah, we went from college, from New York to Philadelphia, and we saw this concert, and it was, the Beat It times, and I want to be starting something and all that. That was great. It was a great concert.
MJ. In 1983, when Thriller was blowing up, I had a dream. I was in 6th grade that Michael Jackson invited me to attend the American Music Awards with him. I had pictures of him in my locker in 6th grade. I am not afraid to admit it.
Funny.
Thriller was like, oh my God, that record. And I didn't even know the record prior, which I never can remember the name of it. What's the record that came out right before Thriller that has Wanna Be Starting Something, or that has, it's the one where he's wearing his glove and his socks. And we all know it. And anyhow, some of the best rhythm and groove I have ever heard in my life is on those 2 records, bar none. Yes. So thank you for that, Michael Jackson Thriller. That is amazing. I just lived vicariously through. Did they have like the Vincent Price like voiceover when he does Thriller? Is like, because I'm sure they didn't wheel him out on stage, but
no. So that was it. That was my. I love that concert. It was a great concert. We had a really fun time.
Thank you for that story. That was really good for me.
Because thank you.
This whole event is for me because I have stress, and so I just asked all my friends to come talk about it so I can deal with it better. So no, I'm just
that works for me.
It's for you all. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Donna DaCosta is going to talk to you about how to make self-compassion your new BFF. So take it away, Donna.
And BFF, best friend forever, just in case I forget to mention that, right? BFF. I think my parents were like, "What's the BFF?" But so Tim, like you said, well, number one, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. This has been a great summit. And like you said in my bio, I have kids with life-threatening food allergies, and we've been dealing with this for about 20 years. So we've had a lot of challenges with food allergies over the years. And I heard you speak, Tim, and I know that you have had many challenges as well. And I'm sure probably everybody listening has had some kind of challenges here and there. So I wanted to give you one way to kind of pick up if the challenge knocks you down, how to pick yourself up and keep on going. So it was about maybe 3 years ago. I was at work and I had a really bad day. If you had one of those days, like a really bad day at work, had a really bad day at work, and I had to take my son over to his soccer game. He had a nighttime soccer game. So I left work, I ran to get some fast food. I picked my son up and I gave him the fast food in the back seat and I took off down the road and we were headed on the way to his game. And we were on the highway and all of a sudden I hear, "Mom, mayo." And I thought, oh my goodness, because my son is allergic. He's severely allergic, life-threatening allergy to egg, which is a mayonnaise. And I have forgotten at the restaurant to tell them no mayonnaise for his sandwich. And so I pulled over and we're in the breakdown lane, the emergency lane, and the trucks are going by and the cars, the car's shaking. And I said, "How are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you breathing okay? Hives, itching, vomiting, anything like that?" He had nothing like that. And it was nighttime, like I said, it was a night game. So we were almost to the field. So I said, "Let's just go onto the field, make sure that you're doing okay." So we got to the field. I could see him better. He looked okay, but we talked to his doctor. We decided to go ahead and give him the medication, the epinephrine, and we went to the hospital. So he missed his game and everything else. But long story short, he was fine. However, Mommy was not so fine. And I felt like the biggest loser. I was like, is this big L on my head? Because I cannot believe that I actually gave my child something that could kill him. And I felt terrible and I was so upset and disgusted and disappointed myself. I just like, how did I do that? How did I mess up? I was so busy focused on work and so busy focused on what I had to do later on in the day and the games that I just was not being mindful. I was not in the moment thinking about what I needed to do, right? So what I did is I went to my food allergy community because I figured if I did this, somebody else may do this. And if there's something that I can do to help somebody else to prevent some type of tragedy or potential tragedy, I would want to do that. So I went to my community and I was like getting my kind of head down and kind of wondering what they're going to say. And I was like, "You guys, I just wanted to remind you, please be mindful, please slow down, because we're all running around so much. Try to slow down some and think about what you're doing," because I didn't the other day. And I actually gave my child eggs and mayonnaise and he had a reaction and I could have killed my baby. So, and you know what I got back to? They weren't like, they were so loving and understanding and nurturing. And they're like, "We get it. We've done this before. This has happened to me last year, happened to me last week. We know you're a caring mom and you love it. You love your child, and don't be so hard on yourself. It happens to all of us. Nobody's perfect. We're here for you." I got lots of hearts and, hugs and virtual hugs and whatnot. And they were so wonderful to me. And they actually they did something that I couldn't give myself. They gave me compassion and I couldn't give it to myself at that time because I was so angry and disappointed in myself. So the trick is, how do you give yourself that compassion, right? So the compassion that your BFF or your community may give you, how do you give it to yourself? And that's kind of what self-compassion is. It's basically being kind to yourself and loving and nurturing to yourself. Where for some of us, doesn't come really pretty, very naturally. But that's basically kind of what self-compassion is. So my tip today is to develop your your self-compassion muscle, and to build that muscle and to be your BFF or your best friend forever. So let's see, I think it was probably a couple years ago was the first time I ever heard of this term, self-compassion. And I was taking a mindfulness course and my teacher said, "Oh, there's something called we're going to talk about self-compassion today." And she said, it's basically like talking to yourself in a very kind, loving, nurturing way. And I thought to myself, like my kids say, wait, what? And I heard you say it too, Tim. wait, what? Like, who does that? Like, people really do that? Is that a thing? Because I've always been very hard on myself and very critical, more so than my parents, teachers. You too? Yeah, you do, Tim. So more so than anybody else, I've always been very, very hard on myself. And I thought, people actually say nice things to themselves? Like, that's a concept. So I was like, okay. And she explained that you can be kind to yourself and loving and supportive. And that's, and you can speak to yourself like your best friend would speak to you. And I thought, that's interesting. And she went on to say that it can help with anxiety and depression and perfectionism, which some of us deal with, right? And that it can help with connectedness. So it can help you to connect to yourself more, as well as connect with other people more. And if you had like some kind of problem or issue before, it can help you to deal with that issue and to move on. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. That sounds like a pretty good idea. So, maybe I'll give that a try. But just want to let you know that it's sometimes easier said than done. So I'm still practicing that. But I remember a couple months later, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, I don't even remember what the topic was, but I was like, wah, 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 wah. I was like, I can't believe I did this, and I did that, and I did so and so, and I'm such an idiot. I went on, and she's like, stop. She's like, Donna, stop. She said, you will not talk to my friend Donna DaCosta like that. And I said, oh, okay. She's a little bossy. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, you are smart and you are caring and you're giving and blah, 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 blah. She went on, and you will not talk to my friend like that. And I thought, oh, okay. And so I was like, my friend can talk to me like that, but still, I'm not talking to myself like that. I'm still not being my own best friend. So I'm going to give you a couple ways that you can be your own best friend. So number one is to recognize those thoughts. A lot of us have thoughts about good or bad, right? And I've seen different studies. Some say between 50 and 90,000 thoughts a day we have. A lot of them are negative, and a lot of them the same thoughts we had yesterday. We're having those again. So number one, you want to recognize that you're having these thoughts, and realize, like I think was Jan said it. Yeah, you are not your thoughts, right? So you're not, just because you're having your thoughts doesn't mean that that's you. Doesn't mean they're true, right? You're just having that thought, and sometimes you have a story attached to that thought, but that's not necessarily true. So recognizing those thoughts, kind of bringing them to life and bringing them, out of the closet kind of thing, then that can help you. That can help for them to have less control over you. So recognize those thoughts. You may think, I'm not good enough, I'm too old, I'm too small, I'm too young to do something, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not attractive enough, or whatever. So just recognizing those thoughts. And number two is to allow the thoughts. So just kind of allow them, allow the experience. You may have some emotional things, emotions going on, the thoughts going on, just kind of allow them. And sometimes when you just allow them, they'll sort of drift away. But if we try to resist them and say, I'm not going to talk about it, I'm not going to talk about it, a lot of times they say what we resist persists, so they will stay. It doesn't mean that you agree with the thoughts, but just try not to fix them and try not to avoid them. Just let them go, and then let them just go on about their own way. And that can really be the beginning of the freedom, to recognize those thoughts and to allow them. Tara Brach actually talks about this, and she says that sometimes, like if you're, say, angry or you're fearful, you can actually just name the thought, like fearful or anger, and then say, it's okay, or yes, and just to allow that. So number three, so after you recognize it, the thought, and allow it, number three is put your hand, if you want to, you can put your hand on your heart and breathe. Like Tommy says, like just breathe, how important that breath work is. And then you can say, what will my BFF say? So if I came to my BFF and said, oh my goodness, I did this, and I messed up, I can't believe I did this again, what is wrong with me, why can't, would your BFF say, you are a complete idiot. Why would you do such a thing? What's wrong with you? You're the only one in the world who makes a mistake. I have nothing to do with you. Of course not. Your BFF would say, I get it, I'm so sorry that happened to you, I'm here for you. What can I do? How can I help you? I'm with you. I'm right here with you. I'm for you. I love you, right? So try to think about what your BFF would say. So you might think, or you could say, what would a teacher say? Maybe you have a favorite teacher, a pet, maybe a religious leader, maybe God, maybe a grandparent, someone who's passed on, maybe the universe. What would the universe say to you at that time? And that can help you if you're not really sure what you should say to yourself. Trying to channel that person. Say, if that person were looking at me, a loving person, what would they say to me? Or you can say, what would I say to my BFF? So if my friend came to me and said, I messed up, you won't believe what I just did. I can't believe it. I can't believe I did this again. I'm so upset. Then what would you say? Would you say, oh, you were such a, I can't believe you did that again? Of course not. You're like, oh, ouch, that hurts. How can I help? How can I help you? I'm here for you. I love you. You're my friend. How can we get through this? Right? So you can think about what you say to your BFF or what your BFF would say to you. And this does take time. It's not like it's going to do one and done. One time you're finished. You're like, okay, great. Now, so I have self-compassion and I'm out of here, right? It takes time, but over time you'll have fewer of those stories, and you also will start to soften a little bit more, and it will soften your heart. Self-compassion will soften your heart. So as I said, this is a process. So even as I'm sitting here today talking to you, Tim, and everybody, and getting ready for this talk, I was thinking to myself, wonder if I'm like talking too fast during this thing. Am I talking too fast? Because I talk really fast normally. And then I haven't been doing my yoga. So I'm like, this is really gonna be bad. So I just, all right, Donna, don't talk too fast. Then I'm thinking, is my hair okay? Is it sticking up? Do I have a strand sticking up? And then I'm thinking, oh my goodness, well, am I saying the right thing? Are they getting what I'm saying? Does it make any sense to anybody besides me? And then I have to take a breath and breathe and have my BFF talk to me and say, Donna, first of all, nobody cares about your hair. It's not about you. So forget the hair thing. Yes, you probably are talking too fast because you had that cup of coffee, which you should not have had this morning. And then they're saying, it doesn't really you are here to serve Tim's people. You are here to help Tim's people, whoever is listening. So if whatever you have to say helps one person, then it's worth it. So just relax, tell them what you need to tell them, and hope that your stories can resonate with people in some way. So even during this, I've been working this for quite some time now, and I have to tell myself, my BFF has to come to me and say, just relax, it's okay. So even if, say you say, well, I can't say those positive things to myself. And that's okay, because it's weird. I mean, it was very weird for me to start doing that as well. So, if you don't want to say that, you can just put your hand on your heart and just breathe, right? Just take a few breaths and breathe again. And then just think of your hand as warmth and comfort and nurturing and love. And just put your hand there. And you don't really have to even say anything, just breathe. And if it's really bad, just put your other hand there and then just breathe. So I have some good news for you. I've got good news, really good news, and really, really good news for you. Okay, so the good news is that this self-compassion, it's a learned muscle, right? You can learn it, you can learn how to do it, and you can train and you can develop it, right? It's not something you're necessarily born with. So if you feel like I can't do this right now, then there's something you can learn. Like right now, my oldest son just graduated from college, yay! So he's home with my younger son, he's home with my younger son, who's in high school, and they've been working out, and they go and they work out, and they're doing these incline push-ups and decline push-ups and all kinds of stuff I've never even heard of before. So I went to work out with them the other day, and I was doing my push-ups, but I was on my knees. That's pretty much the best I could do. So I did those, and then now I'm on my toes, and now they're telling me, go down a little bit lower, Mom, go down lower. I'm like, ugh. But I am building those muscles. I'm getting stronger by working out with them, right? Not all the time, but sometimes. And so you can do the same thing with self-compassion. You can build those muscles. So that's the good news, okay? You don't have to be born with it. You can learn it. The really good news is that you don't have to have any weight, and you don't have to break out in sweat, which is really good for me because I'm not really trying to do all that, right? So you could do things like there's meditations, there's called like loving kindness meditations, and there are different kinds. There's rain meditations, there are all kinds of meditations that you can do to help you to build those muscles, right? So it's training, you can learn it and you can build a muscle. And in the bonuses, I've given you some links to different meditations and different websites that you can learn more if you want to go further on self-compassion. And the really, really good news is you get a 2-for-1 or a BOGO or buy one, get one, because I love a discount. So I'm going to let you know you get a 2-for-1. And let me explain. So when you learn about self-compassion, it helps emotionally, helps give you an emotional boost, okay, when you do that. But it also gives you a physical boost. So you guys have heard of fight or flight. Some of the speakers have talked about it today as well. So when you have all those, I'm this, I'm not good enough, I'm this, all that kind of, that inner critic, inner child comes up, that your body actually, it feels like it's being attacked. And so you're going to produce all these hormones and chemicals, and you're going to pump them out. One of them is cortisol. And cortisol actually over time can be very detrimental, as you know, Tim, as you shaking your head, right? It can be detrimental. And it can be decreased immunity and memory and all kinds of things. So, but if you do practice self-compassion, then that cortisol can slows down or decreases, and you get the release of oxytocin and dopamine, which are those nice feel-good kind of hormones, right? Yay! Right, so that's great. So you get that. So you get a 2-for-1. So you decrease the cortisol, and then you're going to increase your oxytocin and dopamine, and that helps you to feel better, and it floods you with those feel-good hormones, and helps you be in a better state to learn. Alrighty. So I always like my 2-for-1 because I'm a shopper. So anyway, so I hope that I have at least given you a little bit of glimpse into self-compassion if you haven't thought much about it before, and that you're willing to give it a try. And like Tim says, you know, a lot of us will reach for something. So if we're stressed, we reach for this. So it's the alcohol, the drugs, or the food, or the TV, or the phone, or whatever it is that we're reaching for something, right? So I just invite you the next time when you think to reach for something, instead, reach for your heart. Reach for your heart, think about it, you know, think if there's some thoughts that are coming up, allow those thoughts, breathe, reach for your heart and ask, what would my BFF say right now? What would they say to me? Or what would I say to my BFF? You know, whichever way is easier for you. And if you can't do any of that, just either one of those, just hold your heart, and hopefully that warmth will penetrate and soften over time. And again, it's not like right away, but it happens over time. So if there are any questions, I can take a few questions, and then I wanted to finish off with a story, a short story.
That was just so great, Donna. Just what such a good talk. Holy cow. Like I
Thank
was
you.
busy scrawling notes here, and I remember, because I was pointing at myself. Yes, I'm my own worst critic, and I really struggle with negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that early on in my recovery journey, my first sponsor just gave me a very similar practice where he would tell me that he's like, well, Tim, what I sometimes do is I just put one hand on my heart, and then my next hand, I kind of pat myself, and I just say, gentle, gentle.
Oh, I love that.
I had never heard another man be that gentle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, that's an option.
Right.
I didn't even know it was an option. I thought I was supposed to be flogging myself.
Hard up,
Come
right.
on, you know, like all the coaches and all the external chatter is always motivation by brute force. And
Right.
and when you said self-compassion, like I've heard everybody talk about self-care like crazy for the last few years. That's been a buzzword, but I haven't heard anybody say self-compassion. And
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, and no, really, because I don't have any guilt like issues when I hear self-compassion. Like when I hear self-care, I always have to defend it to people. Self-care is not selfish.
Right,
But
exactly.
self-compassion, I don't feel the need to say self-compassion is not it's self-evident that this is good for you. And so great, just great angle. Thank you for that. Before you finish with the story, where do people find you online?
Well, you can find me at foodasc.com or anywhere, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere or Instagram, Twitter, Food ASC. A is in allergy sensitivity circle. Gotcha. Or Donna DaCosta, Donna at foodasc.com is my email.
Awesome. Yeah. Final thoughts.
So my final thought, so I was about second or third grade, and I used to take ballet. And I was in a recital, and at that time I had very long hair, like a ponytail here. I think I had 2 big ones out here with ribbons and bows and all kinds of things. So I was dancing across the stage, and one of the ribbons slipped out of my hair onto the floor. And so as I was dancing along, I slipped on the ribbon and fell on the floor. My parents were like, ah! You know, they're like, oh my goodness, she's gonna be mortified. And they said I went down, picked up my ribbon, I jumped back up, and I kept right on dancing. And I don't remember truthfully what I said to myself at that time, but I like to think that I said, Donna, it's okay. Everybody slips, everybody makes mistakes. But the important thing is just to get back up and keep on dancing. So I say to you, everybody makes mistakes. We all have issues and problems that we're dealing with and challenges, but just get back up, breathe, BFF, make self-compassion your BFF, get back up and keep on dancing. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Tim.
You are so welcome. Thank you for being here, Donna. That was beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, Donna DaCosta. Just a beautiful way to finish it up. The imagery of get back up on your feet and keep dancing. Like, yes, please. Because I want to be starting something. You got to be starting something. I want to be starting something. You got to be starting something. I had to bring it full circle. I had to.
I know. I gotta pull out my songs over here in a few minutes, right? Listen
That's
to that
it.
again.
That's it. Yeah. Man, the groove, the
Because
king.
I don't sing. I don't sing like you, Tim, so I have to listen to it.
That's all right. That's right. But, dancing doesn't, we can dance with our body and we don't need to use our voice to do that. But what would your BFF say, Donna, about singing?
That's true. Oh,
Touche.
now believe it. My BFF, you know what my BFF would say? Donna, don't do it.
Oh. Like,
sing to yourself. You're wonderful. Sing to yourself and not to other people.
That's what the car is for, honey. That's what the car is for.
Shower, car, exactly.
Let's just stick to dancing, Donna. The dancing analogy is working for you. That is awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Donna. I really nice to see you.
No problem. Thank you. See you guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was my friend Donna DaCosta. How good was that? Oh my goodness. Love to see what your thoughts are, your takeaway. I have a little bit of a delay. There's like a lag on my computer between me talking and then it actually showing up in Facebook, but love to see what you got out of that. Get back up and keep on dancing, right, Linda? That is absolutely it. And yeah, Susan, I think that's a really powerful metaphor. There's a how you hear quotes and then you don't get who said it and then you're like, oh, I don't want to use it, but it's so good. I think it's a Chinese proverb, and again, it's like, oh, I might get this wrong, but it's like fall 7 times, get up 8, something like that. And the game is that no one promised that you wouldn't get knocked down in the game of life. The game is when you get knocked down, what do you do to get back up? And so that's the whole game. How do you get back up?